Hello, everybody. Welcome back to A Bag of Tricks. This, of course, is our podcast with me, your host, BagginsTV. We've also got the lovely Mr. Trick joining me today. How you doing, Trick?
Good. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome on our podcast. We've got a lot of stuff to talk about today. Last podcast, it almost seems like it was a different version of the game. You know, like Amazon just decided to like throw everything at us at the same time. So we're going to try and go through in like a particular format. We will try and keep this structured, and maybe we'll have one thing that I want to do for the YouTube video is like different sections of stuff that we talk about. But, you know, a conversation with me and Trick, we might end up like getting caught up in the weeds or something and talk about anything and everything. I think the first thing, obviously we got the big PTR trick to talk about, but the first thing that happened before this was actually the Legacy of Crassus event. I feel like people have almost forgot about it now, but there is an event going on in the game for anybody who's playing New World on the live version. What are your thoughts on the Legacy of Crassus event, Trick? How are you feeling, man?
Is it really an event?
Yeah. I mean, there's a world boss and you get some loot, I guess. I will say I feel like the bow and the great axe are like okay. Most of the other weapons, the fire staff looked pretty terrible when I saw it, and most of the armor. But you know, the great axe and bow, this is from like the once per day rewards that you get.
Yeah,
those are okay, right? Would you agree with that?
I haven't gotten the bow yet. I've only got I killed him 3 times, and I've only gotten the axe so far. And the axe it's all right, but it's just they're all bad. Like if we look at all of them, right? Is any of this good? And the short answer is it might be good for a person that just got to level 60. But for a person that has been playing this game for a long time now, this is just a waste of time. Honestly, the best thing about the event right now is the 500 Umbra shards and the chance of getting like freedom perk. So literally the best thing about the event is having the chance of getting one of those Squirmin vines or the freedom perk, and that's about it. Maybe a refreshing perk. So imagine doing an event where the best reward is just perks.
Yeah, it's true, dude. It's true. I will say, so they did make a change. If anybody hasn't been keeping up or didn't pay attention, when they dropped this event, they said there would be a 25% chance once per day. So you could only do it once per day. There's a 25% chance you get a special craft mod that allows you to add powerful effects to your items. Powerful effects. And the effect was like Lost Ward or something like that. You know, it was really underwhelming. Like, oh wow, that's so powerful, dude. Or sturdy. So they have made a change now where you are guaranteed to get the craft mod, and they've limited the pool now. So you are like, you know, you can get freedom or you can get shirking fortification. So at least they have made some step towards it. But overall, for me, this event, it does feel like another. It's, you know, it's not a great event, I think, compared to like I think the best events in the game so far for me have been the Halloween event and the original winter event. I think those are good, and maybe the summer medley fair was all right as well. What would you say, like, where would you put this on the scale of events in New World so far?
This is all the way at the bottom. This is even worse than the bunny event. I will say this is even worse than the bunny event.
Damn, dude, that's pretty bad.
Because
that's pretty low. We're gonna get the bunny event again soon. It's coming up.
Yeah, it is. The bunny event at least gave you something that it was rewarding. I know it was tedious, kill thousands of bunnies, you know, but at least it gave you something that you were like, oh my god, I got it. You know, you can kill these Crassus mobs for a whole month, and you'll be like, okay, you know, like it's fine. It didn't impact my life whatsoever. and you can kill them once a day. The fights, it's not even engaging at all.
Yeah, dude.
Honestly,
what would be your suggestion? Like, if we go off of the basis, like maybe this does get in front of Amazon, or we had the power to make a change, what would you do to make this event better? What do you think, man?
This event better?
Yeah. We could go back and be like, hey, dudes, before you drop this, can you try and like do this? For me, I would say the rewards still need an improvement. I don't think the rewards are good enough. And I would also say you've got to look at some way at trying to like instance the event or like add more mechanics. I don't know, because you just like you turn up with as many people as you can, and it's just a complete stomp, or you can't get the right number of people, and it's like basically impossible.
You cannot do it.
There needs to be some sort of scaling version of it where you can bring in 5 people or you can bring in 50 people, and the difficulty somehow remains the same. I know that's difficult, but that for me feels like an issue.
Oh, 100%. And on top of that, it has nothing. So if you're like a solo player, there's nothing you can do about it. You either wait for a bunch of people to show up, or you just simply miss the entire event. So, you
Yeah.
know, solo players or people that play, let's say, like at demon hours, right? That they don't have a chance to be with all of the people in the server, then they just missed out on this event altogether. And also on the top of that, this is an event where you need to kill a world boss, but there's no like vendors or anything. So you cannot even buy you know, patterns and stuff. And honestly, it looks like at the events, people are just more interested in the patterns than the things that the event drop themselves. Like, I don't care what the boss drops. I want to see the patterns. Show me the patterns. Let me see how can I make money. What can I, you know, what am I going to be crafting this month? I want to see it. I want to see it. But you want me to be honest with you? My favorite event, and I think the best event as of now, is Turkulon. Turkulon?
Really?
100%. Turkulon is perfect. It's a giant turkey. You kill him. You get a bunch of good rewards, and that's it. But the thing is, the turkey reward for me was awesome.
Interesting.
I
think I mean, for similar reasons, I think the Halloween event was better because the boss was more exciting. You effectively just kill a boss and then you get things from it, right?
Right.
And Turkulon and the Halloween boss were the same for that. Yeah, but I guess that's interesting. You know, it's good for maybe Amazon to know that.
Will you think they will bring Balfathul next year again? Because they made it look like it's gonna be Balfathul every Halloween, because they made a whole story like this guy comes out once a year, you know, and you have to kill him. So they already pretty much put the baseline. All right, like this guy's gonna come every year now, just like Turkulon, the same way that probably the Yetis and you know, it's gonna come for the winter event. And but as long as they keep adding, you know, new stuff to the story, I hope they don't make the same mistake that they did with the winter event, where okay, you did winter event of last year, so this winter event you're already top, you're already max experience, you don't even have to farm anything. And that for me doesn't work, man. An event should always be a new experience, not something that, all right, I already got most of the reward from last year, so I only have to work halfway, you know, like half as much as the other person. And the event should feel the same for everybody.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, here's like an interesting question on that, but you know, just a question for chat and also for people who are watching on YouTube. What has been your guys' event? Like, what's your favorite event so far? Chat / comments. Like, what are you guys enjoying? Just out of curiosity, like, I'm wondering, are you guys the same as Trick, where you think Turkulon is the best event? For me, like I said, I think it is the Halloween event, but I do worry about this idea of them just recycling the same event and bringing it back, but just a slightly different twist every time. It will get boring eventually, you know, like if the winter event and the summer event are just going to come back every year, and the Halloween event every year as well. But yeah, Riku says Halloween was the best so far. Yeah, I don't know. So I'm surprised that you think the turkey event. I mean, no, I get it. It's cool, but yeah. By
far, the Halloween has been the best event. I'm not denying that. The Halloween by far is being the best event. But an event that they can do every Thanksgiving, and people are expecting it already, is gonna be the Turkulon. You know, people are not expecting Balfathul every year because he might get a little stalemate. But Turkulon is already being like culture of the game. Like, people are, where's Turkulon and where is Turkulon new rewards? I want turkey wing this year. I want some turkey head. But if you're talking about Balfathul, it's like, yeah, maybe Balfathul again. Let me go look at the store to see the next reward. I think Turkulon, it has like the very nice baseline that they could bring it in every year and the player base will still be happy.
Yeah, I agree. He feels like he should be a classic of like New World Turkulon. A lot of people saying that they like the medley fair. I mean, they did add some like banging music with the medley fair. I love just going to the stage and listening to the music, man. It was good.
That was amazing. That was really cool. And the medley fair had something that a lot of events didn't have, and it's something that even if you woke up like at 3 in the morning, like I said, and you felt like you wanted to progress in the event, you could go and fish by yourself for 2-3 hours, and you progressed. You know, you were not bound to needing to have a group to do the event.
Yeah, it's true. It did have like, there was a way to do like group content and solo content. That was pretty nice.
Right.
In fact, I don't really, was there even really any group content? Like, what could you do as a group?
None at all. It was mainly solo, and people loved it. People loved the idea. Yeah. And the main part of the event was fishing. And if you ask anybody to go fish right now, they're like, nah, fam, nah. And then for medley fair, people were like, fishing, let's go. Let's go. Like, it just felt rewarding. It felt nice because you could make money, literal money, by just fishing and buying the patterns.
Yeah, fishing New World. I don't do it very often, but it is pretty chill, you know. It's gonna be said. It's pretty chill. Yeah.
But I don't think it's rewarding enough. by just going out there and fishing. I mean, I'm pretty sure you get twice the amount of money in just a 9-minute mutation, or it's 15-minute mutation.
Yeah, that's true. All right, man. I think I mean we can talk about for a while about the
this event sucks. This event sucks.
Yeah. Overall, the TLDR is Crassus event is a bit of a fail. Hopefully we'll see bunny event. I think the corrupted bunny event is coming back. Fingers crossed they get some like way to make it more interesting this time, because I also think that is like it's down there with like the worst events in the game.
And I just think it's super underwhelming, man. They picture like the waves of Crassus armors are breaching into the map, and then no, it isn't. It's the same spot where Bafathu spawn. It's the same spot where all of the world bosses spawn, and it's just a little area. Like there's nothing that you're like, oh, wow, you know. There's no wow in it. It's like, oh, okay. Even the freaking Cyclops are so tiny, B. They gave them the tiniest Cyclops they could have find.
Dudes, yeah.
How are these guys generals?
So the next, like just after the legacy of Crassus, which for me, you know, I mean, everybody's gonna have that different take. For me as a content creator, it was a bit frustrating because I was like, all right, finally we got an event, at least I could talk about that. And I was just about to push a video out, but then immediately, boom, PTR comes in, they drop this huge video. We've got the roadmap, they're talking about mounts, they're talking about expansions, you know, it's all coming in
so
at the same time. So the PTR, if you guys don't know, the public test realm, we have the first patch on there. To my understanding, there's going to be like actually a rolling series of patches. The first patch doesn't even have the new dungeon on there, so we got a lot of content to talk about. The biggest things that I think we'll cover in this particular podcast, and you know, this isn't going to cover everything. We've got the season pass. We'll get some thoughts on that. The gear sets, and you know, the fact that you know they're charging for those. Weapon balance in general, and with weapon balance, I think, unless you disagree, the biggest changes in the weapon balance, we got a nerf to the hatchet, questionably a nerf to the hatchet,
yes.
greatsword nerf, musket nerf, and then fire staff. I guess you could call. Do you think, first of all, let's start here because obviously Trick, you play a lot of fire staff. Is it a fire staff buff? Is it a fire staff change? Like how are we categorizing?
I will categorize this more of a change rather than a buff.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, how are you feeling about fire staff on live versus fire staff on PTR now? Like, are you enjoying it more as somebody who?
Oh yes. Staff, so the damage, it's pretty much the same damage. Honestly, it's pretty much the same damage. I'm not feeling like I'm killing anybody any faster than I am in the live version. But the amount of things that you can now do, it just feels a lot better. Because in the live version, you know, you can fight mages in two ways. Either you go with flamethrower and you do, you know, flamethrower, then you do fireball, then you continue to do flamethrower and then send in like a heavy attack or two, right? In the PTR, now with the changes to light armor, flamethrower, it doesn't feel that much rewarding because you get hit a lot harder now. But just the fact that you can now do the pillar of fire is so fun to use. Burnout is very fun to use. Incinerate, it's doing no damage, but it's fun to use because it's very fast. Fireball got a huge nerf. That's the ability that almost nobody's using, which it blew my mind. How would they, you know, Fireball went from being like the most reliable ability in the entire Fire Staff kit to being one of the least used ability up, you know, in the upcoming whenever it hits live.
Yeah, it's surprising because Fireball is like the iconic fire staff
exactly,
ability.
Exactly, the iconic Fireball. Yeah, Fireball.
Yeah.
So the time to kill, I feel like is pretty similar, but it's now a lot fun to play Fire Staff. Honestly, it's very fun. If anything, I think that the strongest thing about the new Fire Staff is the heavy attack explosion on the floor.
Yeah, and from what I've been reading on Reddit and the forums and stuff, that also triggers. There's a skill somewhere in the fire staff skill tree that triggers basically refreshing move on a heavy attack, but it is counting as like AOE when you land that ability as well. And that's sort of bypassing the normal refreshing move.
I already tested it.
No, am I wrong?
Yep, I already tested it. I was testing to see if the explosion hitting two targets will proc the cooldown twice, but it didn't.
Okay, all right, that's good to hear then. Yeah, some people were like freaking out about that because along with the fire staff change, they made a pretty big change, just a one perk in general, which is refreshing move, which is used across like a spectrum of different places, from PvE tanks with sword and shield to people using great axe with a bruiser build in wars. Yeah, like a refreshing move has like a 0.2 second cooldown on it now. My understanding of the way that works is effectively if you hit a bunch of enemies all at the same time, if it's within that 0.2 second time frame, it only triggers once. So is that what?
Right. So they did pretty much the same thing that they have on other perks, like the leeching gems. They also give it a cooldown, so you only leech from one attack and not from all of these attacks that happen in that period. So the reason they did that is because whenever a melee weapon was hitting like 5 people, it was counting as 5 refreshing move, right? Okay. So now since they give it the cooldown, the moment that one person gets hit, it goes on cooldown. So if it hits 5 people, it only gets refreshing move from one person. But the reason they did that, it was to balance it out, because a ranged player using refreshing move was not getting the same effectiveness as a melee player, because melee player could just be swinging in clumps and, you know, getting big chunks of cooldown reduction to the point that they didn't even have to use cooldown reduction like refreshing or, you know, refreshing evasion in the gear, and they were going with refreshing ward. Refreshing ward, every time they got hit, crazy cooldowns down, and every time they hit, cooldowns down. So they had their cooldown reduction on the bruises was just crazy. And and since the ranged weapons don't have a cleave with the basic attacks, they couldn't utilize refreshing move as well as the melee weapons.
Yeah, so it's a change that impacts melee and not so much range. Like, for example, any life staff mains out there, refreshing move is absolutely still BIS on life staff,
100%.
Yeah.
And for single, for single target, it still is the way if you want to do refreshing move, right? Because, you know, the great axe swing happens a little bit over the point 2, so every swing is still gonna give you that refreshing. But if you hit 5 people, it will only count as 1 refreshing. So they just did it to counter the melee cleave refreshing abuse.
Yeah. So this is probably going to be the part of the podcast where we almost have to put like a trigger warning, or like a, you know, people are going to be like maybe upset. What we are seeing with this change, I think the bigger picture, and maybe you would agree or disagree, Trick, is we are seeing a shift, or like taking away some of the power of the melee meta, where like melee weapons, in my opinion, I know there is a place for ranged. I'm not saying that ranged doesn't exist, but melee is like the powerhouse in both PvE and PvP, in my opinion. This is my opinion. I'm not saying it's fact. And what we're seeing is with nerfs to refreshing move, which impacts melee more, with nerfs to 300 strength, now being heavy attacks instead of giving the grit. And then with nerfs to the greatsword as well. This seems to be Amazon's attempt at trying to shift the power levels more equally. Now, what are your thoughts on this overall? Because some people are saying that they've gutted bruisers and melee too much. How are you feeling about this so far, Trick? And maybe this is from a PvP, PvE perspective. Like, how do you feel about it?
I feel I'm okay with it, honestly, because also the fire staff play, you know, what they changed, it was just how you play the game. They didn't really make a class useless. They just made it how you play the game. So they were sick and tired, hopefully, right, of melee players just spamming left click for 30 seconds, and then whenever their abilities were of a cooldown, they would use the abilities and go to spamming left click. And by them having 300 grid, made a lot of abilities in the game completely obsolete and useless in wars, because if you have a bunch of people just left clicking with permagrid, what is the point on having a tank on point using like clear it out, because they were immune to clear it out, right? What's the point on having abilities like blast shot if these people are just going to be permanently immune to it, right? Yeah. So and melee weapons already have grids. They have grids in abilities, and they have grids in heavy attacks. Great Axe and Warhammer and Greatsword, they get bonuses when they do heavy attacks. So they were really doing heavy attacks that much, other than the Greatsword because it's built in, right? But the Warhammer or Great Axe, they would just spam left click, especially the Great Axe. And that was so monotone, you know, it's just left click. And it was not just the fact that they were pressing left click. It was the fact that they were pressing left click, but getting so much out of it, right? They have a refreshing move. They have thwarting strike, which it had permagrid, so it was permanently, you know, that increasing damage. Now, instead of just spamming left click, well, they now need to do heavy attacks, fill it in there, and heavy attack got, 10% increase in damage for them. So it's even a more reason for them to use heavy attack. They already have grid on heavy attack, so instead of spamming left click now like a maniac, they might need to use heavy attacks more often and do the left click whenever they think it's the right time to do left click. Because before, it was always the right time to do left clicks, and there was no room for anything else. Just left click until your abilities come off a cooldown, dodge in between, and that was the entire play style.
Yeah. It was like with just one click of a button, you were doing a lot. You were activating your refreshing move. You had grit going with it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, certainly a lot of power behind the 300 strength, users for sure. Do you think by attaching it to 300 Constitution, like, do you have any meta predictions as to what is going to be? Because this feels like really difficult for me to like foresee what's going to happen here. Do you think we're going to see like a tank meta, or people start going to go 300 con? Or what's your predictions here,
100%, 100%. 300. We definitely going to start seeing 300 cons in wars, especially if your purpose is to be like on point tank. There's no reason, especially if you are a melee player. Like we can do now Warhammer, or I don't know, even Warhammer Great Axe on point with 300 Constitution, just so you can play the same play style that you had before. But now it's going to be different because you're not going to be the damage bruiser, you're going to be the utility bruiser, right? So you're going to have 300 con, you can still left click, you won't be doing as much damage, but you're still going to get your cooldowns, and you're going to be sending Gravity Well, which Gravity Well is still the most important abilities in war, right? So this 300 con player now will be able to send out more Gravity Wells than the 200 con counterpart. On top of that, they have now things like I say, Clear It Out, right? Their Clear It Out is gonna hit and it's gonna push people away almost every single time, because unless everybody now starts going 300 con, which, believe it or not, we might see this. We might see a bunch of bruisers starting now going 300 con, just so they can continue playing the same way they've been playing this whole time, because they don't want to adapt to the new way that they should be played, the 300 strength, and they're probably going to go back to the 300 con, which is what they feel comfortable with. But at the same time, the damage will be reduced a little bit, so we're not going to see those Gravity Wells destruction. I mean, we're still going to see them. We're just going to see more tanks in there using Blast Shot, Clear It Out, Leg Sweep, Javelins. It's just that, man, so many abilities were not used in wars for the simple fact that it was not worth it to use it. Really.
Yeah. So, yeah, I wonder, what am I trying to say here? We've also seen a shift as well with, light, medium, and heavy. Obviously, they made these changes where Fortify and Rend now function differently. So again, this is my understanding of this.
Yeah.
I'm still playing the PTR every day and learning new things, but Fortify previously was just like a straight up damage reduction.
Right.
Whereas now I believe Fortify is sort of scales based on how much armor you have. So inversely affecting, like, if you're in heavy or medium, the Fortify is more effective than if you're in light.
Correct.
Is that how you're understanding it as well, Trick?
So yeah. I know exactly how it works. So basically, yes, they did change both Fortifies and Rend. Fortification used to be, like you said, flat out damage reduction. If you had 10% fortification, it was 10% damage reduction. Now what they did is fortification is an increase to your armor. So if you have 1,000 armor and you have a 10% fortification, you get an extra 100 armor, meaning the less armor you have, the less effective fortification will be. The more armor you have, the more effective fortification will be. But the same thing with Rend. Rend is the total opposite of fortification. Rend takes armor away now, meaning that the less armor you have, the less effective Rend will be. And the more armor you have, the more effective Rend will be. So a 30% Rend on a light player is not as effective as a 30% Rend on a heavy player. The heavy player will see a biggest difference than the light player will.
Yeah. What's your take on these changes? Are you in favor of them? How are you feeling about it so far? For me, it also has like a pretty heavy knock-on consequence in the PvE scene as well. I know M10 speedrunners and stuff, like this might be a shift away from the 5-con light armor meta, because you simply can't do it anymore. You're just going to die. But yeah, how are you feeling about this change so far with the Fortify Rend change? Once
more, we just need to adapt instead of just don't straight up like it. I do feel like light overall it is receiving more damage, especially if you had shirking fortification or some sort of fortification in your weapons, right? So light, it is receiving definitely more damage. And maybe ATS was like, yeah, but here we gave you Rend, which Rend is going to be a lot stronger against heavy people. But I'm like, okay, but can we please count how many Rends there are and how many fortifications there are, right? Because there's not that many Rend, but every class has fortifications. And now these fortifications are not going to be as impactful to the light player, Like a light player now with a bunch of 45s, it doesn't do much for you. But how many weapons have Rend? Fire Staff doesn't have one. So if you're a mage fighting a heavy person, you just know that you're not going to have anything against that heavy person, because Blunderbuss has a Ren on Blast Shot. It's only a 10% Ren. And Ice Shower is a 10% Ren. And Void Gauntlet has a Ren, but you need to, you know, it's a 15% Ren. So there's a lot more 45s than there are Ren. And since 45 affecting light more, you know, I think overall it was a nerf to light and a buff to heavies. Also, there were some changes. I don't know if you noticed, heavies now have less CC duration on them instead of more CC duration. And
yeah, I saw a clip. I think it was Whelps or something, and he started a duel. Somebody was in. They had 5 freedom, and they also had heavy armor. And he went to do like a Warhammer stun, and then hit him with just a light attack, and he couldn't even do that. So it seems like CC
heavy's crazy, dude. Heavy's gonna be. Dude, look. If you hit them with a melee attack, they barely stop walking because it's only 0.5 second, right? And if you hit them with a CC, they're like, okay, I don't care about it. Like, they cannot be CC'd. They cannot be slowed. It's like nothing, dude. I hit him with a net shot, and the net shot lasted like 2 seconds. Like, like, it's ridiculous, you know? It's crazy. How in medium got that their CC lasts 10% less on them. So they basically got free freedoms. And light got absolutely nothing. Well, light got armor taken away from them.
Yeah, there's obviously like a lot to unpack here in terms of it, and we're going to be playing this out, and there's going to be more patches coming in as well. One thing that I wanted to touch on, because this has been an interesting topic, like different people have different takes on it. Would you say the hatchet in terms of Defy Death?
Buff, dude, it's so crazy. So I tested it.
We should clarify for the viewers and for people who don't know. There was a change made to hatchet. Previously, we had this skill. Well, we still have it. It's called Defy Death. At the end of the left-hand side of the hatchet skill tree, everybody takes it all the time, and it does what it says. It defies death. So if you were to hit 0 HP, instead, I think you go to 50 HP, and then you become invulnerable for 3 seconds, and it had a 75-second cooldown. And people were saying that's pretty OP. And yeah, it's very powerful. I mean, turns out literally not being able to die is good in both PvP and PvE. It saves you in a lot of situations. Amazon has made a change where it now goes, when you would die, you still don't die, but it's only for 0.5 seconds. However, you heal for 50% of your max HP and another chunk of health on top of that. And this is buffed by any incoming healing effects, including Divine on your amulet. If you're standing in sacred ground, that's going to increase it by 50%. So I've seen clips of people healing for 10k HP when Defy Death procs. So
V, I tested it yesterday. You know how much I healed myself for? 17k, V.
17,000?
17,000
How much constitution did you have there?
I put 500 con. I put 500 con, and I stood on top of that sacred ground. I was like, hit me. And you know that the potions also heal you the more HP you have. So I was getting, with the Fight Death plus potion, I was getting like around 22,000 health from the Fight Death. And they were like, well, you know, this is to counter them in a big group of fight. You know, if they're in the middle of 14 people and there's 14 people hitting this guy, the Fight Death will proc, and then they will take that HP away. I'm just like, okay, that works amazing in group fights. What happened in a 1v1? So I was fighting a bow hatchet yesterday, and every time I was about to kill him with a bow, he will switch to the hatchet and get 50% health back and switch back to the bow. He would not use the hatchet for the entire fight. He will bow. The moment that he was about to die, switch to hatchet. 50% health, go back to the bow and keep doing his thing. It's like a free life. In small scale PvP, it's the most busted, broken thing ever. In 3 versus 3 arenas, in 1v1 skirmishes, super busted. The only place that I might see that it might even work, it's in wars. But yet again, the hatchet players are assassins by nature, so they're not gonna be in the middle of the clumps. They're gonna be looking for the easy targets outside. And now whenever you're about to kill them, before it was a 3 second, you know, that they had invulnerability. But if they had like dots on them and they didn't have potions, after the 3 seconds they were pretty much dead. Now if you have no potion or nothing, you know. And the thing is, half of the hatchet HP is very hard to take down in 3 seconds in between rolls and stuff, you know. Plus they have this thing that it removes all the debuffs they have when they drop below a certain amount of HP. Now they get this huge chunk of HP, and if they have stamina recovery, they get their stamina back as well. So in overall, this Defy Death is a way better version of the one they had before, in mostly every single one of the scenarios.
Yeah, I think even in like M10 and stuff, it's like gonna be as good, if not better, because you're always standing in Sacred Ground as like the DD.
Oh
like,
yeah.
So,
Whenever
yeah,
you die now, you're instead gonna go back to full HP. Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
No, it's pretty powerful. Whether Amazon's gonna, obviously we can't say, and hopefully Amazon will listen. Like any changes that happen the PTR, these aren't guaranteed to come to life. Although sometimes historically Amazon has made the mistake, or like I don't know, yeah, maybe mistake is the right word, where they put a change up on the PTR, they ask for feedback. They don't implement the feedback, and then they put it live anyway. Leaderboards are kind of an example where people said, like, you know, we don't like where it is in the UI. Maybe you could change that. And they said, okay. And then they put it where it was in the UI. So they didn't change anything. But at least they did make the change where, you know, your leaderboard wasn't based off of score. And now post-rush, it was based off of wins. I still feel like that has caused some issues where, at this point, like, I haven't been playing that much Outpost Rush Trick, and there's no way I can catch up.
Oh,
like,
that's
people
it.
have already got so many wins.
No,
I have to play, like, 24 hours a day to catch up
for the next month. Yeah.
Another nerf, another weapon that was nerfed that is currently very powerful in the live version of the game is the Great Sword. So they have nerfed. I think the biggest things that we could say is the charged heavy attacks. It used to be that when you're in onslaught mode, so when using onslaught ability, you would go into onslaught mode and your charged heavies would be twice as fast, so 100% faster. Now they're only 50% faster. I've noticed this does seem to be quite impactful. I still think charged heavies are probably going to be the way to go with Greatsword, but this is a pretty big change. We've also seen the route when you do the spin to win. It's only 0.5 seconds, down from 1 second. And then in general, the melee homing attacks of the Greatsword have been reduced as well. Having either played Greatsword or played against it on the PTR, how are you feeling about the Greatsword nerf Trick? Do you think it's good, bad? Is it enough? Is it too much?
It's okay. It's not too much at all. I did the testing. So heavy attack, I still have a 5-meter launch, which that is longer than a light roll. You know, light roll is 4 meters. So the heavy attack still have a 5-meter launch, meaning that it can still hit you across one roll. A steadfast strike, it still has a 7-meter or 6-meter, you know, dash forward. A skyward slash, the first hit, you know, the first initial hit, only has a 5-meter launch, the same way as a heavy attack. The second hit, the one that, you know, the smack on the ground, that thing is still that still is like an extra 4 meters forward. And so the route on the relentless rush, that is a little, but this is a way that I like them to do nerfs or buff, you know, just little by little. Let's see how it goes. I don't like whenever they take a weapon and it's like, oh, this weapon was here, now it's here. We nerf it by 80%. It's like, that's not how you do things. You know, like, can we just go periodically to see? Now, if when this Great Sword comes to life, people are like, yo, listen, this thing's still busted, all right? Let's take it down a little notch again. Because it goes, some things, they take it from busted to completely useless. The same thing that they did to Mortal Empowerment. Man, that became the most useless perk in the entire game, from, you know, from being this one of the strongest to probably the useless.
Yeah, and we should remind the viewers the nerf that happened here. So Mortal Empowerment, this is a PvP perk where when you would get a kill, I think you would, was it a 2% damage buff? When you would get a kill?
So it's 2% buff, and it was so it was 2% buff for 20 minutes, and every kill will refresh its duration. And now,
and it could go all the way up. I think you could end up getting
30%,
like almost 30%.
30%. Yeah, it was 15 stack. They brought it down to 10 stacks, I think, right? Or they kept it at 15. I don't remember. But the big things are, is instead of being 20 minutes, it's 2 minutes. But the biggest thing, which I think is what killed the perk completely, is that now whenever you get a kill, it doesn't refresh the duration, right? Yeah. So this is so useless because you don't get kills every 2 minutes, right? And now you're having a perk that barely gives you 2 to 4% extra damage. And you need to play mega aggressive. You need to get as many kills as you can possibly get in those 2 minutes. And that is just straight up unrealistic, you know? I would have been okay if they would have brought it down to 2 minutes, meaning that, hey, listen, if you don't get a kill in 2 minutes, this is gone. And if you get a kill, well, then you have another stack and it refreshes for an extra 2 minutes, you know, not extra 2 minutes, but just go back to 2 minutes. So you're like, okay, in this next 2 minutes, I need to get to it, you know? And if you didn't get it in 2 minutes, well, it's gone. And 2 minutes is running from Luna to start, you know? Like, that is not enough time for you to use this perk to its full potential. Now it's just straight up dead. It's not, there's not even a point in using this perk at all. And this is again a problem that I have. How can they have a perk that is so strong and take it from being one of the strongest perk in the game to being a perk that is completely obsolete and not usable anymore?
Yeah. So would your suggestion just be to just allow it to refresh upon a kill then?
Exactly, because you need to still play very aggressive, very aggressive, and still dots don't give you freaking doesn't give you the the thing. It has to be straight up damage. You know, like boom, 1,000.
Yeah. So the final weapon on the docket here, and this lines in with mortal empowerment and going from up here to down here, obviously is the musket. For those of you unaware, we've seen some pretty significant changes with the musket. One of the biggest ones is now when you aim with the musket, you have like some weapon bloom effectively, and you have to hold down aim for long enough for the crosshairs to sort of tighten in and actually get some sort of accuracy with the weapon. I tried a little bit of musket on the PTR myself. However, I'm really not much of a musket main, so I didn't have a point of comparison. It did feel like it was, there was a bit of RNG involved. Like I was kind of letting Jesus take the wheel to see if I land my shots or not. What's your take on the musket nerfs?
So,
and this for the viewers, this is probably going to be more of a PvP thing because I think sadly we're still not going to see any musket in PvE.
Yeah, musket on it. Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
This is more of a PvP change.
The sooner we realize that musket will never be a PvE weapon, the better it is. All right, that way at least just lose that false expectation. So I did test musket for a while, and muskets that are below 30 meters is still pretty much the same thing. 30 meters, it's so the medium and close range musket is gonna feel pretty much identical. It starts affecting once you go into that 40, 50, 60, 70 meters when the target is a little bit further away. And I think it was too much. Because now if you move, right, the reticle opens up. But also if you move the scope, not if you move the character, if you move the scope. So I think it's too much. I honestly think that if you move your character, yes, it should open up. But if you're not moving your character and you're moving your scope, it still should be a very nice accuracy. Obviously, it shouldn't be the same accuracy that it was before. Right now, just keep it to the 2 seconds. You aim it for 2 seconds and it becomes pinpoint accuracy and you shoot, right? I mean, if you look at the previous how musket played from 100 meters away, they were pretty much waiting 2 seconds between shots. They were shooting, right? They will do the reload. They will aim, waiting for you to do your roll, your zigzag, and then shoot. Before, they could always shoot if you roll your roll. If you didn't, you got hit. But now it's better if they were able to hold that pinpoint accuracy after 2 seconds. I understand that going into shooter stance from 100 meters away and spamming left click is shooting every shot be there. You still need to wait those 2 seconds. You go shooter stance, 2 seconds, shoot, and you don't have to reload in shooter stance. Another 2 seconds, shoot. Another 2 seconds, shoot. And again, from 30 meters, go ahead and do it yourself, B. From 30 meters, 25 meters, you barely can miss a shot. As long as you're even if the reticle is a little bigger than the target, the bullet will pretty much goes there. So medium range musket, small close range musket, they might still miss a shot because again, it's not straight into there, but there's barely any deviation from that range. But from long range, definitely got it. They should not make it that if you're moving your aiming opens up, because then how can you follow up people? If the person move, well, your freaking thing also moves. So like you need to hold your aim and hope that the person runs in front of your scope so you can shoot him there, and then put it like 5 meters forward and it's like, okay, you're gonna run this way. No, all them screwed. So I would say musket did get way too nerfed for the long range play style.
Yeah, I think they need to bring it back just a little bit. And I really think, like, if we want to see musket getting used in PvE some more, they've got to introduce some way for some AoE abilities other than just sticky bomb. But then I know, like, this falls back to the whole problem that for the long term, I do think Amazon needs to have, like, different abilities, have, like, different tooltips depending on whether you're PvE or PvP mode. I think that's really what they need to try and do in the long term to try and better balance this stuff, because it's just going to be a constant juggle. Like, if you buff it, then it's going to be even more egregious in PvP, and it'll be, like, just about usable in PvE, and we're gonna get this constant back and forth. So hopefully that's something that they got planned. Other big topics, we'll try and keep things moving along here because again, there is so much to go
So
through.
much, so much.
We've got the season pass, and we've also got gear sets as well. Now, this obviously is going to impact a wide variety of players, from the casual to the hardcore. Both of these, for players unaware or any listeners that are not sure what's going on in New World, Amazon are proposing that we're going to go into this seasonal content. So every 3 months, there's going to be a new season beginning. The first season is probably going to start around the end of March. If we look at the in-game store date, it seems to be about the 28th of March is what they currently have planned. And season 1 will begin, which they're calling Fellowship and Fire. And each season is going to have a theme to it. So obviously there's going to be like fire. We're getting a new fire dungeon. They're adding these fire core crafting materials. It's all kind of fiery based, and a lot of the skins and rewards in the season pass, which for those of you who don't know, it's effectively like a battle pass that we see in different games. It's going to have 100 tracks. It will last for 3 months, and it's going to cost you $20 roughly for the Marks of Fortune to buy it. It's 20,000 Marks of Fortune. I've played around a little bit with the season pass. There's some talk about whether it's pay to win or not, and just the overall feel of it coming into the game. What are your thoughts on the season pass, Trick? How are you feeling about this different direction that New World seems to be going towards, this seasonal content and the season pass? Are you hyped? Different?
I'm super hyped about it. I think the season is a phenomenal idea because every season they could just add throw some shit in there, you know, and make it work. You don't have to go into all the lore, you know, like, you know, no, you can just straight up put it in there. All right, this is the new season, lightning season. And it's like, well, what the hell this is that? Because before, if you were following the lore, it was like the corruption and the loss and the angry earth. And if it was not, you know, around those 3 things that we're kind of used to it didn't make sense. But now with the season, this is amazing. Plus, every season you're expecting a whole new meta, and that's what I like, you know. And because I don't want the game to be stale for too long, because then we have problems like, when are the next changes going to happen, you know? And people are like, yo, we need changes. So if they keep
just to clarify, just so people don't know, they said in the developer update video, with every season they're looking to do big meaty combat changes. Those were the specific words of Dave. So big meaty combat changes with every season. So yeah, maybe a new meta every like 3 months or so. You think that's going to be good for the game then? You think that's going to keep things fresh? Because obviously it means people are going to probably have to craft new gear and expect changes.
100%. I think it is good because every 3 months people will have a reason to come back into the game, right? Even if they don't like the combat, it's just to see the new season, the new dungeons and stuff. I'm a big fan. I honestly big fan of the season. You know, every season we have a different theme, a different, you know, different events and stuff like that. Now, about the season pass, I like it, man. I don't think it's paid to win at all.
Yeah.
At all, I don't think it's paid to win. And when people say, well, how is not paid to win, Trick? If you pay for it, you get more, you know, legendary pieces of armors. And I'm like, okay, how many more legendary pieces of armors are you getting? It's like, I don't know, it's like 5. Or I think it's 5 extra boxes that you get at the end, legendary piece of armor. And then I tell them, all right, will you pay $20 to somebody to craft you 5 legendary pieces of armor that you don't know what you're getting in? And the short answer would be, no, I wouldn't do that. You know, so if you would pay $20 to somebody to give you 5 random legendary armors that it might not even be biz, right? Is that considered pay to win? I wouldn't do that. Yeah. I wouldn't pay anybody $20 to craft me 5 random legendaries. Now, could I get a biz item out of that? Yes, I could. But the same way you can get a biz item out of the free one, you know? And it's just a more random thing in there that you throw it in, and that's it. Buying so the chat, somebody said in chat, buying power with real money is equals pay to win. But you're not buying power. That's the thing. You're not buying power, because the gear that you're getting from there, if it is a weapon, unless it has attunement, or or Bane is a useless PvP or PvE weapon, and unless it has resilient and the specific perks that you want, then you're not really buying power. You know, you're just gambling at this point. It's just more of a gamble rather than you straight up buying power.
Yeah, I would partially agree. I think it's a shift in the game. Like previously, all you've been able to buy from the store is a server transfer or some pretty ugly skins. This is the first time that we're going to directly be able to like buy a tangible item in the game in a roundabout way. So it is definitely, I do see the argument that this could be the slippery slope leading towards some pay to win. And I think we're going to have to monitor that closely and provide feedback and be like, Amazon, please don't do this. But so far, you know, I mean, I did the season pass. You know, you get it on the PTI. You can open it up if you guys want to take a look. You can go download the test server and check it out. Everybody gets the free reward right at the start. You get the top reward, which is a box of loot, which I think is like a random named item, and then you get the bottom reward, which is like legendary pieces of loot. I got a pair of medium legs with Lost Ward, Resilience, and like accelerating Light's Embrace, and they were intelligence, and I was like, wow, dude, oh man, I just bought such good gear, dude.
Exactly.
But it could potentially be a good piece of gear, but like historically, when Amazon offers as rewards, and we can look as recently as the Legacy of Crassus event, when they offer as a legendary item,
free rewards,
it's quite crap.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. You know who might get the best use out of this? A brand new level 60. That's it.
Yeah,
but
sure.
a brand new level 60, even if they have this legendary armor, it means absolutely nothing. It won't shift the meta. It will not affect the late game because nobody cares about a level 60 having this armor. You know, you could say the same thing. I just pay to win. Wow, how about the people that pay for shards, right? They skip that whole thing, and now they can have a gear 625 in a couple of days, while the person that is playing the game not buying shards needs to spend several weeks, if not month, to be able to get to 625. If anything, shards is more of a pay to win approach because it literally increases your power faster than the counterpart. With this season pass, you might or might not receive any increase in power, and the increase in power might not be that significant. Why? Well, because you're just a new player.
Conveniently enough, you can actually get Umbral Shards from the season pass, by the way. But so I see a few people in chat. I think this is like a good point to touch on as well. With the meta changing every 3 months, people are saying it's going to be too difficult to shift to that because some people spending millions of gold on acquiring good items and then having those items shift. Like for example, with thwarting strikes being a popular perk, which is when you have grit, your attacks do 11% extra damage. That's going to be potentially less powerful now because you don't have 300 strength. If you don't have the grit with your attacks, then thwarting strikes is a dead perk, so people have to make that change. They're either going to have to shift to 300 constitution to maintain their thwarting strikes, or they're going to have to recraft a new weapon. Do you think, like for me, my take is that we can't expect to have the same best in slot gear all the time. I think it is good for the game that you will have to occasionally recraft and adjust and make new sets. If we have the same gear over and over again, it just remains perfectly best in slot. You have nothing to really achieve because New World for me is it's a game of carrot on the stick in front of you where you've always got to be chasing the carrot, because once you get everything best in slot, you've won the game. Like that's it. What else do you have to aspire for? So there needs to be this constant aspiration for good gear, but I will agree that it might be a good idea if they allow us to achieve better gear faster. And I think over time we are seeing that, where it is
golden scarabs
easier to get golden scarabs and it's timeless shards, and then you know, I mean I guess in some way putting gear in the season pass, but not quite the same. I still do agree though that it could be like
and we will be honestly we will get gear faster because the more dungeons we have, which they will come, every dungeon at least has a beast piece of armor for somebody. Did you see the new light staff?
The cleric's walking.
It's a mega bits that people are paying millions of golds to get, you know, and now you can literally just get it for free. Just do a dungeon, and then the next dungeon might have a beast piece of something else for somebody else, right? So now they can go to several dungeons and get at least some pieces that are beasts, and then the rest you get it by crafting, which I think is perfectly fine and perfectly okay. And then the thing is, whenever the meta changes, some of the items that used to be bad are now going to be good. It's not like they have to create items over and you know, like new items over and over again. And instead of them creating new perks, what they do is take the perks that nobody has used in over a year and just make them more relevant, you know, competitive with the others, even making them maybe a little better. So people were like, okay, well, let me try that perk now, because that is how the season should be. Every season should be like, well, let me see if this works better than what I have. It shouldn't be a complete drastic change that every 3 months you need to take the gear that you have, put it in the garbage, and put a new one on, right? But it should be something that is, all right, maybe this works better now, and just some gradual changes. And I think 3 months, it's plenty time for you to be able to achieve that, you know? And I don't think every single weapon is gonna get change every month. You know, there might be some
Hmm.
weapons that get changed. Like this is the season of the fire staff. It makes sense. Fire staff is being so boring for a whole year. They reworked it. Season of the fire. You know, the next season called the season of the freaking sword. I don't know. And then, you know, just make some changes to sword and shield or great sword or whatever. I think it's fine. I think it's going in a great direction. Definitely way better than it has ever been.
Yeah, I would agree. I'm mostly positive about this patch coming in. One thing that I will say as well on the topic of making it harder to acquire items and, you know, finding it more difficult to acquire good items, they are potentially still a little bit confusing, making a big change where the patch notes said procedurally generated items, when you upgrade them with the Umbral Shards, they become legendary. They get a third perk. For those of you not aware, typically when you upgrade an item to 600 gear score with Umbral Shards, it will either become legendary or it won't. The vast majority of the time, it won't become legendary unless it's a named item. You know, if it has 3 fixed perks, it will become legendary. The exception of this is specifically weapons that come from Outpost Rush boxes. I'm sure you're aware of this trick, but maybe some people in chat aren't. If you open an Outpost Rush cache, you can upgrade a Rusher weapon or a Conqueror weapon, and they do become legendary with a random third perk. They're saying that this is going to happen with, I don't know, procedurally generated for me is like almost everything. It's crafted. It's
almost everything.
Drops that you get from. Yeah. So that's
not
gonna be pretty exciting.
Though.
I think.
I don't think it's gonna be crafting? I don't think it's just gonna be drops. I think because then people would not want to craft 600. They will only craft.
You could just make an epic, right? You could
just make an epic.
Shock and fortification, and you've already got 2 good perks locked in there. Or whatever
exactly. And you don't have to waste the mats to make it, you know, the 595 to 600. All you gotta do is make it 590 and above. And so I think it's only going to be drop generated items.
I'm pretty excited for that change, though.
Super.
I do still think, though, that they need to give like better ways for people to get Umbral Shards, because it's still like, you know, other than doing mutations, like trying to get Umbral Shards through PvP is like almost impossible.
It's crazy, man. It is really hard.
You got to do like 700 games
arenas
to get them.
Arenas. Arenas should give you, each arena should give you a couple hundred shards.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's strange that I found that they mentioned on the roadmap and like for the future, they're making an arena map, but they're not going to make an Outpost Rush map as well. Even though for me it feels like Outpost Rush gets more love and it's the more rewarding game mode, and yet because you know it's first of all it's on the leaderboard, and the other one doesn't give you any leaderboard skins. It gives you better. You get the Outpost Rush cash, you get all this stuff. Arena doesn't really give you anything. So were you surprised to see that they would decide to announce an arena map and not an Outpost Rush map? Do you think maybe they're still gonna do an Outpost Rush map as well, but they just weren't ready to announce it? Like,
no, I think they will. They have to, right? This is something that we can now. It's like they're never gonna make an OPR map. Yeah, they will, but it's definitely a lot harder for you to make an OPR map. Even though we already have so many, you know, foundations in the world, like we have the castle in Monarch's Bluff, and we have so many things in the open world. You could be like, all right, this looks like a pretty good place to make an OPR out of it, right? So they have that there, and they could do it at any given time. For the arenas, though, I don't understand why they were making a new arena map when they have shown very little love for arenas. Like right now, people are not interested in doing arenas because it barely gives you any reward. It's not in the leaderboard, like you said, right? So if people have very to no interest, and by the way, nobody's complaining about the map that we have that is too boring. I think the map is fine. People, the main complaint about arenas is it doesn't give you any reward, and it's not even in the leaderboard. So we didn't really want another arena map. We just want the arena map that we have to feel good and be rewarding, you know? There's still so many issues happening with the arena map that we have right now, right? With the pillars and the wall, there's a bunch of glitches. So the arena that we have right now is not even finished. It's not a finished product. And unless they really give us some incentive to do arenas, like what is the point of doing arenas? Really, there isn't any.
Yeah, for sure. If we I gotta, again, I said, you know, sometimes we'll go off on a tangent. I just thought it was I remembered that they were doing an arena map versus an Outpost Rush map. We're gonna pivot back to the season pass and the PTR and stuff. One of the big topic, you know, I've got some pretty strong feelings on this, is the gear set system. Okay, so for those of you who don't know, Amazon have finally introduced the feature where we have a gear inventory management system. So right now on the PTR, you get these 2 slots. You can drag your items into them, or you can right-click on an item and assign it to a gear slot. It covers all of your armor, your weapons, your shield, your heart runes, your potions, and your ammo. So you can effectively make a custom loadout, and it's bar changing your attributes and weapon mastery. With a click of a button, you can change into a different spec effectively. So this is going to be useful for people who want to quickly change a loadout in between like PvP. So, you know, if you're in a 3v3 arena, you want to click a button to change while the fog of war is there before you go into the next round. If you want to make a quick change in Outpost Rush, you're deciding that, you know, your weapons are being counted. You can put all your gear on the same time. And also for expeditions and crafting, it's got lots of applications because you can quickly change a full set of gear from one to the other. Now, the controversy behind this and what I'm not happy about is the fact that they're offering 2. And that's it. You'll get 2 when you're level 25. You'll get a 3rd one if you finish the Battle Pass. And I believe it is on the free version of the Battle Pass at least. And then the rest of them after that, you will have to buy them on the store. What do you think about this trick?
So
for me, I think it's a quality of life feature. I think in the same way that when they introduced it, where you can use storage sheds from everywhere around the map, you know, like you can you can use a storage shed from anywhere. This is the idea of them saying that you can optionally pay to unlock different storage sheds. Like, oh yeah, you've got it. You want to use the Brimstone storage shed? Well, you want to be able to use that from Windswood. You got to pay for that. I'm like, what do you f off, dude? What do you mean? Give it for free. Like, it's a quality of life feature. Why are you charging me to have a better version of the game?
So
but yeah, I mean, I've interjected a big bias there, but what do you think, Trey, about the gear sets?
So I feel you. By the way, before we go into should we get more or is it, you know, should we pay less? So first of all, the way that they implemented it is amazing, you know, because you have it there. It's like its own storage. Like it even goes away from your inventory. You know, you put it there. And whenever you want to, like, it's not in a storage and it's not on you. It's in this thing and you can access that thing from anywhere in the world, right? So you could be running and there's a guy in front of you with a bow and you're like, oh, I'm gonna fight that guy. You open your inventory and put on your anti-bow set, right? So it's very quick. I think the way they implemented it, beautiful. Very, very, very nice the way that it is implemented. Now, some people,
nice feature for sure.
Nice feature, 100%. Some people like yourself are like, well, why do I have to pay when I have freaking 5 crafting set, I have 5 smelting sets, I have freaking 4 PvP set and 18 PvE set? There's like 50 sets that I have to equip, you know, like, why are you making this, you know, have to pay to have more? I do see their point, right? Obviously, that makes sense. It's a quality of life thing. Now, the thing is, this is where I kind of like, I understand a little bit what they did here. So with every season, by the looks of it, you might get 2 free. Okay, you're gonna get one from the free one. You're gonna get one from the pay one. Which you still gotta pay, right? So every season you're gonna get 2 for free. If you want to have more in between, because well, you have more responsibility, you have to. By the way, did they say how much is it gonna be, or do we don't know yet?
They haven't announced the price yet. We don't know yet. No.
Right, they haven't announced the price yet. So I do understand that paying for them might be an inconvenience and a barrier for some people and might call Amazon greedy and stuff like that. And they have a point. They have a point. But also Amazon is thinking, well, listen, we're going to give you 2 free ones every season, and we might give you free ones with other things that we might be doing to throw some in there. And I'm good with that. And if you want to pay more to have more, it's also okay. Now, the one thing that I don't like and I disagree is the little amount that they gave us to begin with, right? I think 2
is definitely not enough.
Yeah, it's definitely not enough. If they would have given us 10 to start with, 10, and we get 2 every season, and if you want to buy more, you can at any given time, I'm okay with that. But 2 now, you know, it is too little. It's way too little. Way too little.
Yeah.
So
I think, yeah. I guess I agree. Like, I think if 10 was basically the offering, I think most people could probably get by with 10. Sure, you can definitely use them more than that. Absolutely. But I think 10 would be a good baseline. And if you want to pay for the premium of having more, okay, I guess I can agree with that. But the fact that they go with 2, they know that the average player is going to need more than 2. And they know that that's guaranteed money that they're getting.
100%.
Because they know that the game will be, like, I guarantee, chat and YouTube, that the game will be better with this feature. It improves the quality of the game in the same way that inventory on the move improves the quality of the game, in the same way that being able to access any storage shed from anywhere improves the quality of the game, in the same way that just having more fast travel shrines around the map improves the quality of the game. This is something that improves the quality of the game, and Amazon are deliberately gutting the game to sell you a bit of the game that makes it better. And I just think it's bad from the game's perspective. Like we both want New World to succeed. We have a vested interest in wanting the game to be good from the player's perspective, from our own perspective, from like, we make content on this game. I want the game to be good, and I don't want Amazon to be selling features that make the game better. I want them to just provide those to the players with the base price of the game. That's my take on it effectively.
100%. You should make the players feel comfortable. Give them that big, comfortable baseline. And if they want more, they can have more. Because, I mean, somebody's saying in chat, all right, some people will go buy with 10. I don't think so. I mean, I think 10, if you go buy with 10, you don't play the game. You just do some things, 10 gear set is probably for a warlogger, that they only play the game to do one activity. But if you are invested in the game, then you know that you have the smelting, woodworker, a stone cutter, weaving, armorer, weaponsmithing, tailor. Like there's 10, it's alone in just crafting stuff. And then you have several mutations. You have, several classes that you need again. So 10 for a bare minimum baseline, I think it's a good one. 2 is too much. Imagine if, by the way, they didn't do anything with trophies. We were complaining with trophies as long as we were complaining with gear set. Imagine if they told us, oh, you want more trophy slots? Well, you got to pay for them, And we're going to give you 5 for free. And if you want more in your own house, then you got to pay for that. That is also not good. The trophy problem it's enough. That needs to be addressed, needs to be fixed. The trophy is such a big deal. If they give us the opportunity to swap builds because of smelter and stuff like that, then they should know that swapping trophies is equally, if not even worse, because you need to go
making the sorry
no go ahead
making the argument that like, oh well, all you have to do is click like 5 different times instead of 1 different time. I would say, well, if you want to run from Windsward to Everfall, it only takes you like 2 extra minutes of running, so why don't you just pay for the ability to fast travel as well? Like, just $5 to unlock the fast travel feature.
They will.
No, it makes the game better. Please stop defending it, please. Me and Trick are not advocating for like the game to make less money. I'm gonna buy the season pass. Dude, I will buy the gear sets as well if I have to.
I will.
I don't want them. Yeah, I'll do them. I'll buy all of them, but I just don't want them to be selling this. I think focus on selling your season pass. Focus on making your skins better and getting your
people will buy this
skin better.
100%.
Like, come on, dude. We're coming at it the wrong way. Like, it's like, oh yeah, well, all you have to do is click 6 extra times. So if you're so lazy that you should do that, you have to pay for it. Well, if you're so lazy, you should just have to run from Windsward to Everfall as well and pay for the privilege of being able to get the fast travel option. No, it should just be baseline in the game. We should have 10 slots. Baseline, or at the very, very least, give us some like quests or some way to unlock them. Don't make the only way you can unlock it by swiping in the store. I feel you there. It rubs me the wrong way, dude. I'm just upset. I really legitimately am disappointed at Amazon for this move. Like, I love the game. I want them to succeed, but I just think this is a bad move on their behalf. I really do.
How do you feel about the mounts?
Mounts being announced? I'm still like, I don't know, dude. I still like, it's just, for me, it's hard to imagine like what a mount's gonna be like in New World. How's it gonna work in the combat? Do we need them? Like,
we don't.
I mean, it'll be cool, but
definitely,
I just can't imagine them being anything more than a glorified like movement speed buff with like some skins attached to them. So
that's it. Yeah, that's pretty much gonna be it. And imagine if they give us, you guys want a mount? All right, here a mount. If you want to teleport, well, you gotta pay real money. Go back to where you were saying, right? You can run over here, and it's gonna take you 30 seconds, or you could pay for it. $1 for 1 ace off.
I think like mounts are going to be so like, if they do allow them to be anything more than cosmetic, it's like, how are mounts going to work even in just like a war? I mean, it'd be cool imagining people charging at each other, but will you be able to use abilities from them? If you get attacked, is you got to like immediately dismount? Like, it's such a big system, such a big feature.
And they did add a life skill attached to it. So meaning that a 1 life skiller rating is not gonna be as powerful as a 200 life skilling rating. Like, what is this gonna give you? Is it gonna give you more movement speed? Is it gonna give you more defenses while you're on top of the mount? Is it gonna give you like mount abilities? Like, if you have a horse and you're running, you can kick somebody and stun them for 5 seconds or something like that. Imagine somebody running on top of a freaking horse just shooting with bows and arrows, or like a musket. Well, they will never hit anybody, it's fine. But bow and arrow will hit people. It's I don't think mount combat should be a thing.
Yeah, I just in case anybody doesn't know what we're talking about, if you go into the test server right now and you open up the trade skill tab, you know where you see your smelting skill, your weaponsmithing, etc. Over on the far right under music, there is a thing that says UI_riding, which is obviously the riding skill. Now it is under the casual section along with music, so it does suggest that it would have the same impact on PvE and PvP as music does. I think music, you know, it's fine. Actually, it doesn't really have any impact on PvP.
PvP,
I don't
none,
think there's any. Yeah, it's more of a PvE thing. It's more like, you know, you play it to get like a nice sort of extra buff for gathering or movement speed or whatever. And maybe mounts are going to be the same thing. So maybe they won't have any involvement with PvP. Right. But again, this goes back to, and you know, we'll try and like nip this in the bud here, but still people are saying when they look at the roadmap that there is not enough PvP content on there. They're getting disappointed that the PvP is still not getting the love that they want it to have. What are your takes on that, Trick, as somebody who, you know, you're probably doing more PvP than me, I would say. Do you feel like PvP needs more love on the roadmap? Are you happy with
Of course. The game, I mean, the first thing that we need to get out of the way is like this game right now, as we stand, I don't care what this game used to be, and I don't care what this game promised to be whenever it was announced at the very beginning. It's what this game is now and the direction that it's going. And this game right now, it is a PvE game first, PvP second. And obviously the direction they're going is focusing more on the PvE content than in the PvE, because you don't need in the PvP, you don't need that much PvP content, but PvE content, you do need a lot of PvE content. Now, what do we rather have? Weapon balance or more maps? I think that the weapon balance takes priority over maps any day. So I'm okay with the weapon balance first, and then probably making more maps or modes. Which, and it's something that we need to understand also, is like they keep saying, listen, not everything that we want to release is on the roadmap. And PvP is one of those things that you cannot just put there, you know, casually. The PvP, it needs to be taken super serious, because PvP changes are, I will say PvP changes are more meaningful than PvE changes. PvE changes, you know, they're people still do PvE. They don't care if it is harder than it should be. It's fine. If it is easier than it should be, it's also fine. But for PvP, it's definitely harder than that. They cannot just, all right, this is what we're doing, this is what we're giving you, because something might shift or change along the road. And that's why I think they're keeping most of the PvP things hidden away, right? Like the PvP arena map. It's not there in the roadmap, but we're 100% getting it. They said we are. We might see some images in the future, right? Same way that they might be working on some other things.
Yeah.
Although they have taken a very long time to add anything new PvP. And that's why I do see that the PvP community is getting a little, you know, upset about this. It's like, dude, how many dungeons do we need? You know, you obviously can make a dungeon that you need to add bosses to it. You need to add so many things to it. You can really not make a freaking OPR map that you don't even have to add PvE to it. Just put 3 flags in the map. Don't add any mobs. Just put it floating across the world and just let us fight out in a new place. You know, it's like, it's not that hard. You don't even need to swap, you know, change combat or anything really. Just throw a different map in there, man. People are just sick and tired of seeing the same OPR for an entire year.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's like, for me, that is the PvP content. And I think this would probably be the same for a good chunk of people who play New World. If you are going to engage in PvP content, probably the most likely content you engage in is Outpost Rush. I think it's the most easy to just go into, because 3v3 arena can be a bit intimidating, you know. It's like you're just PvPing, right? And it's pretty locked in. Wars, obviously, it's not just something you can casually jump into, but Outpost Rush you can just jump into as a casual player. So for that to not be their priority that they focus on and try and just mix things up a little bit, it is a bit surprising.
Yeah, no, 100%. Somebody in chat said PvP only zones. I've been asking for PvP only zones for so long now, man. It feels like
I was surprised that I thought there would be maybe one in Brimstone Sands. It's a big enough area that it feels like they could put an area in there for it, you know.
Yeah, man. It's just that the world PvP is it ain't it. There's no world PvP, man. You run an entire day flagged, and you might see a handful of people, and you see these people, and most of the time they don't even want to fight back. And you know, I hit them a couple times. They're like, no, I'm here just farming. You can kill me if you want. I'll come back. You know. And they have like a tent next to them, so you know, if they die, they're reviving the tent, and they don't give you any other rewards. So it's like, all right, what is the point of even fighting people in the open world? Like, best case scenario, you attack somebody, they fight back, and that only lasts for about 20 seconds. Oh, that's it. I'm done with world PvP, you know. but it's not rewarding. There's no risk and reward aspect to it. It's only reward if you are like just farming. There's zero risk, and the reward, man, the PvP flag reward comes from PvE. You know, it's crazy. You PvP flag to PvE better. How does that make sense?
Dude. I rant about this on the stream too often.
How does this make sense?
PvP. I have to do PvP content to just get my stupid extra 1 Asmodeum per day. Why is the PvP incentive not for PvP rewards?
Exactly.
It's so dumb.
It's so dumb. So dumb. There should be a PvP only territory that it has like mini bosses where a group can come and kill them, and it gives you, guess what? Umbro shards, right? It gives you Umbro shards. It can give you all the resources. And make this place the mobs be level 66 plus, right? And it's gonna have a bunch of orichalcum, you know, and the high tier resources. And unless you're PvP flag, you cannot enter that zone. It will kill you if you go in there non PvP. You're dead, done. and you know, I think this will be great, man. Honestly,
I agree. Hopefully we maybe see that with the roadmap. There's a lot of other things that we haven't really covered in the podcast, but I think, you know, like we could make this like a 3-hour podcast. There's so much content to talk about. We haven't even touched about the zone reformed and the new weapon and all that stuff.
Right.
But I do think we'll try and wrap this up for now, Trick, and then we'll have some stuff bleed over into the next one, because hopefully we're gonna get some more PTR changes to talk about as well. Closing thoughts for the podcast for me. One thing that I quickly want to just do another little quick rant about. Can we please get some like craft mods or something on the PTR? Like, why is it like so hard to make custom gear on the test server?
It should
like,
be even
you don't get any
easier.
vials of Azoth really. It's like you have to then go do a bunch of cooking aptitude to get more vials of Azoth. Can we get like a bag of craft mods at least? You know, a golden scarab, like they added the ability to do golden scarabs with the tools, but you can't even test it out because who's gonna go into Brimstone and farm golden scarabs for like 3 hours just to be able to craft an item with a golden scarab? Like, give us more tools.
The thing is,
PTR, please, Amazon.
What you're saying is already too complicated, B. It should be you go to the crafting station, you pick which 3 mods you want on your armor weapon, and it's given to you. You know?
Yeah, like if you want to test mortal empowerment, you can't even really test it.
You cannot test
so much
anything
just to test that stupid perk out.
Exactly. So, and a lot of people would like to replicate their main character in the main server. So, like, all right, this is what my character has. All right, let me pick that piece. So, this is an exact replica of my character. Or it could be, okay, I'm going to go to the PTR. I'm going to test this and see if this is the build that I want to go forward, not to have to spend millions of gold in the retail live version, so I could see if this is good or not. So, you know, they in like WoW, for example, have this thing where you can copy your main character from the live servers and put it in immediately into the PTR, right? If that is too complicated, because there's no crafting in WoW, you cannot craft the gear. You can only get it from bosses and stuff. So it does make sense that you get all of your stuff that you have in the live server into the PTR. That way, people don't have to go and kill bosses. But then it's just like, well, you don't have to kill bosses here, but you need to craft like crazy. And it's not guaranteed that you're gonna get what you want, and so you might need to create another character. And guess what? That guy probably not guaranteed either, so you might need to create another character. Oh, you created 3 characters? Oh, you gotta wait 24 hours now to create another character.
And then they like ban you basically.
Yeah, like it's like,
it's dumb,
do you
dude.
want me to test it or not? Like, what is this, ATS? Just let me test it. You know, it's like, no.
Yeah, I hope they make that change eventually.
Yeah, 100%.
One last thing as well, which has changed between the last podcast and this podcast, I think, is you've been working on a new website, right, Trick? I don't know if you want to talk about this at all for the podcast.
Yeah, new world champ. Yes, I obviously been super busy with the PTR and everything else, but it is officially live. If you're on my stream in WC. And he has tier list. He has, he has the weapon combinations that are like performing a lot better than the others. And this is just a PvP site for PvPers. That's what it is.
For those of you who are listening to like an audio only version on YouTube, we'll have this linked in the description down below, or the show notes as well. But yeah, a new website. We got some builds from Trick and various you've been collaborating with some other players as well, right?
Right.
And people who
so
you're keeping it, this is just for PvP for the time being. You're keeping it like a PvP builds.
It's mostly catered for PvP, because PvE is pretty self-explanatory, right? PvE is pretty self-explanatory. you go against that one dungeon. And for the PvP people, right, especially the newer players that come into the game, they don't have the knowledge or experience to know which weapons are the ones that are performing, and they don't know exactly how to put the skills and stuff like that. So this website, gets rid of that barrier for them. It gives them the ability to already pick one of the top combinations of weapons and exactly how their tree, should be. And obviously they can adapt and play better and make their own builds, but at least it gives them that foundation so they can work around that instead of having to figure everything out by themselves.
Yeah, sounds pretty useful, man. Sounds pretty poggers, I might even say.
Yeah, and then NWC or New World Champ, if you guys
nwchamp.info is the website there.
That's what it is. And it's still a work in progress. We'll still be adding new things to it every single week, with more community builds and the tournament champions builds. And all by the way, one thing I want to say, all of the builds there are high performing builds, meaning that all of those builds are good. If you don't perform with them, that is you that you need to just get better, at that build. Obviously, you cannot grab one of those builds and immediately start kicking ass. It's gonna take some understanding of the game, but at least gives you the comfort knowing that these weapons that you're investing time into are good weapons.
Yeah, it gives you the foundation.
Right.
Yeah, cool. All right, man. Well, I think it's been a pretty good talk. We covered a lot of different stuff there. There's still most that go, like some stuff that we didn't even get into the show notes, which you guys have to tune in for the next episode. Maybe we can talk a little bit about Throne and Liberty, Amazon publishing that. I've seen some people have some takes on whether that's going to impact New World or not. Like I say, there might be some new builds on the PTR as well. We can check out the new dungeon finally. Maybe Amazon might announce some walking back of the musket nerfs or some changes and stuff. But yeah, thank you as always, Mr. Trick, for a good chat, dude. It's been fun.
It always goes by too quick, B.
All right, friends, if you want to support the show, make sure you like the video, leave a review on. I think we're on all of the platforms
all of them.
Now. We're on Android, we're on Amazon. We even have like a website as well. I think it's like a. Oh, Gamgee's gonna kill me. I can't remember the name of the website. it's I think it's like podbean.bagoftricks.com or something like that. And we'll have it linked down below. But obviously, if you're already here, then you're watching the podcast anyway.
Right on. Yeah.
Thank you everybody for watching. Trick, thanks for the chat. And I guess we'll see everybody next time.
Of course. Thank you so very much, Baggins.
Goodbye, man.
Goodbye. Peace.